one of our major clients is a remote automation delivery. So it's like robot delivery. So we have that scattered over Europe and the US and in some parts of the UAE and Korea. So we're handling the robot automation deliveries for that. We also have virtual assistants helping recruiting firms and some professionals have more efficient day-to-day activities through administrative tasks that we do, and with the onset of AI we're improving how we scale businesses for the medium or rather small and medium enterprises in the US.
Welcome, everybody. We're at season 20 of The Leader's Edge, season 2. And today we have an expert in, as you can see in her background, scaling. Her name is Pam Baluyo, and she actually founded Scale Experts. I'd like Pam to introduce that to you, to all of us, to all of our viewers. So, Pam, go ahead.
Thank you so much for that one, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here in the show. And to start, I would like to introduce Scale Experts. So we are a homegrown BPO company located here in Cainta, which is our main office. And we do have another office in Rodriguez, Rizal. So we're one of those that grew from just a freelancer job to being a full blown BPO company. So we specialize in customer service, in virtual assistance. We used to have a client that catered to one of the biggest mobile food industry in the US. Rather, I'm sorry for that. And then we also have one of our major clients is a remote automation delivery. So it's like robot delivery. So we have that scattered over Europe and the US and in some parts of the UAE and Korea. So we're handling the robot automation deliveries for that. We also have virtual assistants helping recruiting firms and some professionals have more efficient day-to-day activities through administrative tasks that we do, and with the onset of AI we're improving how we scale businesses for the medium or rather small and medium enterprises in the US. So most of our clients are located in the US, but we do have some clients in the UK and in Australia.
That's very fascinating. And, that seems like so much has happened in such a short time. Okay.
That's right.
That's what it certainly sounds like. So can you tell us a little bit about when Scale Experts actually started and getting involved with the BPO side of let's say even food delivery?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So we started as a different company because at the time I had a business partner who was working with me. He's a German American, but unfortunately in 2016 he passed away. So looking at how the landscape of how virtual assistant companies, digital agencies have evolved through then from 2011 until then, realized that maybe I could rebrand it and direct it more into scaling businesses rather than just doing the usual virtual assistant. So in 2018 we rebranded to Scale Experts, and at the time we have that startup company which we had in 2013. We've been helping them out, and then it was when they were acquired by a bigger company. That's when things grew up as well for us because they were acquired by a bigger company. Of course, the scaling is also exponential, being able to be backed up by a larger company that can help them scale and make a full force of their app. That's where we were able to scale up as well. We grew from just a measly 7 people team to now at one point we grew to a 280 strong workforce. Now we have reduced to 140, but we're open to more opportunities for growth.
Can you just briefly describe your business model? You could just take any company that you work with, and how is it that you help them?
Oh, sure. So most of the models or what we cater for are the usual startup companies when they're ready to scale, when they're beyond the usual seeding company and stuff like that. So that's when they usually need people to help them work on their repetitive tasks, their administrative tasks. When you're growing your business, that's where you need, specific people. Now, our model is that we wanted to help scale these businesses, the startups, the small and medium enterprises who wanted to expand but doesn't want to, spend a lot in terms of growth. So we can help them, find the more important key roles in their company. They can hire that in house, and we do the jobs that otherwise may keep them from being more productive. So the usual research and development, the front end support of facing customers or facing inquiries through chat, or perhaps um, marketing their business through social media and content management. So we help them with that. And we targeted before we just targeted, just professionals, just one-on-one VA to professional. But now we realize that, startup companies, as long as they have the numbers to show that they're actually growing, we can actually help them scale by giving them a more cost-effective way of addressing their front end issues so that they can concentrate more on developing the growth of their business, hiring the more important key personnel. Because that happened to us before. There were so many startups that we've helped scale, and then they bought out their staff with us because it helped them with that. So that's how we do our business. We still cater to the virtual assistant side of things. So we still provide general administrative support or recruitment specialization or recruitment sourcing. We also do, at one point, real estate and healthcare and even e-commerce. We did that as well. Anything that would help, a business springboard their scaling. That's what we
No,
do.
that's fascinating because I was in the outsourced mainly telemarketing. I started in the year 2000, 2001, more than 20
Really?
years ago. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They, they just deregulated the phone industry. So the VoIP became more common and became a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
And so a lot of businesses started to maybe outsource that aspect of their business.
that's
And so it's grown up today to cover several things. Now, let me ask you this, because I'm sure you know you're not the only person in this sphere, the only
mhm.
company. Okay, in fact, that I always see ads for virtual assistants practically everywhere. And how do you differentiate yourself from the other groups that do similar work?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Paul, because there are a lot of competition right now. And with freelancing, we have like I think a 1.2 million freelancers. That's the registered one or known ones in the Philippines. And how do we compete with that? Or how can a digital agency like ours be able to compete? The thing here is that when people hire a freelancer, they're the only person that they talk to, and sometimes the challenges of ensuring that that freelancer can comply with the company that they work for. That's where the challenge comes in because sometimes there are, they need to have their own vacation, they need to have their own space. Sometimes the instructions aren't clear, and if there are other, instances where in the freelancers may need more than just getting the sources from the client, that's where we come in. Um, when I think what made us successful in this field and being able to grow steadily is because when a client hires someone from us, they're not just hiring that VA or that person, they're practically hiring a team because along with the virtual assistant, they also um, have that assurance that the person will be provided for. There's a project manager or there's a client success manager that will help them understand their needs and at the same time being able to, we are the ones who invest in tools with the compliance, with insurance. We both protect the client and the freelancer, or rather the virtual assistant working for them. We're also the ones absorbing the mistakes that may happen. So if the client doesn't like the virtual assistant or the specialist that they hired, we can easily replace them. We can have someone, or we can help support that. There was this instance in our client that, the job is more than one person can take, and we can absorb that. We can increase that immediately without having to put a strain with the client and the virtual assistant or the sourcing specialist, if you know what I mean, or the customer support representative. So that's the beauty of having, working with an agency or working with a BPO company like ours.
One thing that I mentioned early on, and this was, I think, in 2001. So your clients can sleep better at night. That's what I say.
Yeah,
But
exactly. That's the
just
purpose.
take away all the concerns there. So if I were a client, okay,
Hmm.
uh, and you were offering me your services,
Hmm.
uh, you mentioned a lot of things there. How would you approach me? Because I'm sure I look like one of your clients. Okay.
Well, the very first thing that I would ask first is, what do you need? Because the thing here is that we can't help. We don't need to extend help to people who can figure it out themselves. So we first figure out what exactly do you need, because if the need is something that would just, I'm not the type of person, or we're not the type of company would just like, oh, just get a full hire freelancer with us, or just get a full time VA with us. We don't push just for the money. I usually like start asking, what exactly do you need? Do you figure out, or have you figured out if outsourcing is a good tool for you? And if it turns out that this person just needs, someone part time, then I'll give you a part time work, a part time VA for you, and that's not going to be an issue. But as long as you have that support, and I would not ask you, like, if you don't know what you're going to give as a task to this person, I may not be able to help you. I mean, I'm not a mind reader, something like that. I can help you figure out the business. That's the one thing that I can help you. I can ask you some questions and let it figure it out. We'll figure it out together first, whether you really need someone or you just need a short time project. And that's what we're going to offer you. So I guess that's the reason why the most of the clients that I have been with me since, some of them as long as 2011, because that kind of trust is something that you build. This is BPO companies are built on trust and built on and not just on the service itself, but on the relationship that you give and take. Because when you hire BPO companies, or when you or you outsource rather, you shed a little bit of your trust, you shed a little bit of your privacy to that person. You have to share it. There's a certain level of confidentiality that needs to be built first before you can establish and share the processes. So that is, I think, essential. That needs to be done first before we go into closing or building a partner.
Oftentimes, and I'm sure you've had the situation where the client thinks he knows what he needs.
Yes, that
Express.
yeah. I have encountered a lot of clients like that, that they said they thought this is exactly what they need, but there are also some clients that don't really know exactly what they need. They because the business itself, they're in a mess. Either they would, you know, neither I would have to tell them you you need to you need to let me take a look at your business, or else we wouldn't be able to run it. No matter how good the people are, if you can't figure out how to run your business, it's just going to be a mess. There are indeed, like, like there are some instances, and I'm glad to say that they're still they're still with me. That they started with hands up. I don't know exactly what you're doing. Please take care of it. Like, and it took me time before I could figure out. Oh, so this is what you need. You don't really need someone with this qualification. You only need this, and it helps him focus with what exactly he needs in his business development side. So it kind of like, and now it's smooth sailing. I haven't heard
Okay.
lately from him.
All right. Let me ask you this. Typically, when you look at your businesses, is there like a common trait? It could be even just the size, or what it is they outsource to you guys. Is there a common
Mhm.
trait among the businesses that you work with?
Well, I guess you can say that the niche that we're offering, like in my case, um, usually businesses with a particular industry would get drawn to an outsourcing agency because of their expertise. There are a lot of outsourcing agencies who have been, uh, they can do a variety of tasks like lead generation, e-commerce, customer support, telemarketing. And what I do notice, like they would start on a general offering of services, but eventually niche down to a particular specialization. So that's the reason why you would probably notice in the IT BPM industry that there are some that when you say, let's say, concentrics, you would know that they're concentrated on technical support and bank support system. And then there are, like in our case, we're more really into customer support. And when they usually deal with recruitment, that's when you would know that we're in that particular specialization. And then there are others, like, if I'm not mistaken, Teleworks is also into uh, data collection. So those are the different, like,
That collection. That's a, I just had a funny line about that.
oh,
So what do you call the guy and say, I know where your mother lives? That's how you collect the debt. No, I was just kidding. I was just kidding. Uh,
oh,
so, so there are niches that you do exploit, if you want to say, and that
that's right.
that happens over time. But essentially, let's try to get this down to a little more, how would you say, a little more simple terms.
Mm-hmm,
What's the biggest? Why would I want to go to? Yes, I understand that the price is less. That's there. Okay,
mm-hmm.
but why would I want to outsource anything? Okay, to somebody who's 10,000 miles away. It-
Well, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, it's really more on how to be more cost effective or cost efficient. Because let's admit to the fact that, outsourcing can be a good thing for a company, especially when you're trying to start off. You wanted to like scale without having to worry about the rising costs. And this is the challenge actually with the outsourcing industry, because the Philippines is no longer just the only, it's not only the lead when it comes to providing services. Emerging countries like South Africa, Vietnam, some other Latin American companies who have realized that they have to, leverage their English communication skills, the way that they do their business, and they started to emerge and offer, lower costs. And that impacts a lot of businesses because, in order to drive their costs down as well, and their prices down, that most of the clients that we're catering to would eventually be, leading to end customers, B2C. And those customers, of course, we wanted to offer them the most cost effective pricing ever for the apps, for the services, for, when they're buying their products. So you wanted to keep those prices down so that, the general public can still purchase that. So that also leads to us in the back end support that you also have to keep the prices down. It's really, it's really a challenge, but most of, I guess, the manufacturing company, they still want to go through outsourcing because getting someone in-house, especially in the US, the kind of, the kind of support that someone in the Philippines can do, or rather someone in the US can do, can also be done by someone here in the Philippines for a much lower rate. So it's like one American to four Filipinos. So imagine that kind of ratio. Now, I'm not saying that, just hire Filipinos instead of Americans. It's more of like what we notice in the trend is that someone in-house from the US, from the UK, they're now being hired for the more important roles, like in part of decision making, in part of the higher executive process decisions. Those are the ones that being hired, and then those that are ones that you don't really need a lot of expertise to do the job, like answering calls. I mean, not all Filipinos, or rather, not all people are inclined to like calls or even like answer through chat or like, they don't want to do robotics. And then of course, while AI is there still needs a lot of human intervention. It's still not a perfect tool. It can help. It definitely help ease the communications, but still you need human intervention for that.
Oh, absolutely. Uh, that was going to lead into my next question. How do you see the future of the business in general? I mean, when I was looking at outsourcing way back when,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
the way it was explained to me was simple. So there's certain tasks in your business that even if you do 100% well, it won't contribute much to the sales. It won't contribute much to and those are the ones that are usually outsourced. Okay, it needs to be done, but it's not. You don't need a, super score to get it to do it. So a lot of that was coming here then. Okay, things like even things as simple as data entry. Okay, that even started in the 80s. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So, so, but in terms of especially how things are evolving so quickly,
Mhm.
uh, how do you see your business evolving into the future?
Well, all I can say, Paul, is that it's not, it's not just automation, it's augmentation. And BPO companies have to augment or have to add AI to the list of services that they can offer, or use AI to enhance the services that they have been offering. So before you, like in chat support, you just type in like particular phrasing, you just answer in a very baroque, if you put it that way, or very, very basic communication language. You can now improve that through AI. I know that they have what you call AI robots, and they can even take in calls for you and stuff like that. But there is still human intervention that needs to be done, and that's how BPO can evolve. They don't really need to replace the people for AI, but rather help these people that you're in your team to be utilizing AI more so that they can be more efficient in their job. So I would say, if a BPO company doesn't augment their team with AI, and then they're in a lot of danger for this. I mean, right now it's inevitable. It's like, how would I compare it? Internet. Before we don't have internet, right?
Right.
And then internet. eventually became part of our lives. It's something that it's no longer just a want; it's a need. I mean, I it's very hard for people to be off grid nowadays. Like they would say, "Oh, I've been off out of social media for a while," but eventually, after a few months, they would come back because they need human interaction. The same way with AI. Like before, we said we don't want AI. There were doomsday stories of like, oh, it's going to be like Terminator, like Matrix and stuff like that. And probably, yes, there may be a time that we might actually go through for that, but that's science fiction and that's something that we can totally avoid. So it's fascinating, true, but it's really a matter of how you're going to integrate AI or augment AI into how we work to make us more efficient.
You know, generally speaking, the human race hasn't been very good at predicting the future.
Exactly. I would
Oh,
say
what's
that.
gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
Yeah,
Nothing. Okay. So I know there are a lot of stories going around about AI.
I
I'm
know.
very, I'm more on the very cautious side about it because for me that has all kinds of other effects, which is for another discussion. But I think one of the biggest challenges you're facing is it's literally the speed of the way things are going.
Oh, that's
Yes,
true.
yes, the internet happened, but we kind of adjusted. But then things just started changing so quickly that we sometimes we get either lost or just get dizzy by just how
Yeah.
fast things are going. And so let's change the focus of this of our interview. Let's change the focus of me wanting to
Mhm.
become a VA or wanting to get involved in this industry. It's funny because we have young people and we also have old people like me who are just about to retire or retired. Maybe their retirement isn't good enough or whatever it is, and they also need to do something. So, what do you have? Do you have any suggestions for, let's say, for the younger folks or for the older folks about wanting to get into this business? And more importantly, why should we sign up with scale experts?
I think it would be. I would say for the older people, this is great. It's really a great diversion. It's a great way for you to go ahead and retire to your old corporate job and still do virtual assistants on the side, even you're beyond your retirement age. And the good thing about, I'm a Gen Xer. Just to let you know, I'm a Gen Xer who looks like a millennial. I'm sorry. The thing here is that our generation, Gen X, and even the silent generation, you can still do a lot. The thing here is that the way that we learn is, we figure things on our own. We're not just like, we just like stare at the screen and like wait for something to happen. We figure things out. And because of the wisdom that we have accumulated over the years, it's easy for us to accept these are the trends that we can adapt to. And like, for example, content writing, that's I think perfect for the boomers and the Gen Xers because we were in the course of our learning, we were taught how to do proper pronunciation, we do proper we have been taught on how to write properly. So when we do content creation, you add that with AI, oh my God, the results of people in our generation writing for content on that one, customizing it to the tone and feel it can actually benefit us, or we can use that skill set to be content writers. And there's still a lot that needs to be, there's still a lot of needs for that one in that area, content writing, literature. And then for the millennials and the Gen Zs, it's really the advantage right now that you learn the skill early. Even if you're just still in school or as soon as you finish school, you enhance your learnings with whatever is the available trends you know in the VA industry, the virtual assistance industry. Because right now, social media, content moderation, content strategy are hot jobs right now. Cybersecurity is an emerging trend right now. And if you know a lot on how to do cybersecurity, data privacy, there are a lot of jobs available online for that. And we in skill experts, we're also looking into, adapting those kinds of skill sets so that we can offer them to clients who definitely need those kinds of support. So it's really important for millennials, for Gen Z, the people that in the workforce. The one thing that I notice about them is that when it comes to technology, they're really good. But when it comes to comprehension, that's what they just need to develop. And I think even through AI, you can still develop that comprehension and being able to, be more um, analyze, be able to analyze more critically. If you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I understand that whole critical thinking. We
Hmm.
had an interview with another lady, Ida Johnson, I think it was.
Yes,
And critical thinking is beyond the data. You see the data,
yes,
but then you have to go beyond it if you want to say.
that's true.
But how about for scale experts? What are some of the biggest challenges and biggest opportunities that you're seeing for
Well,
scale experts itself?
right now, to tell you frankly, Scale Experts has just experienced, a change this year because losing clients is not easy, definitely. And I would have to, and I'm just being honest here. It's really hard to, be able to lose clients. So one thing that we learned from this is, you still don't be content with just, having one or two major clients. As much as possible, you get in the smaller, but smaller clients that still need help. So it should be a balance of the two, so that if anything happens, you'll be able to go from one industry to another and be able to offer the services. At the same time, one of the things that we have done, we started on the first, or rather, yeah, like late first quarter of the year, is that we started to offer our own team, our own employees, upgrading their skill set. So we have what we call our online academy. We've already started with that. We haven't offered it outside Scale Experts. We wanted to keep it internal first. But we started doing more upgrading of skills. Like for those who are working in the customer service industry, we are now offering virtual assisted classes, online assessments, so that they would know how a VA works, how a VA could, how can they be cross-trained to virtual assistants, and how AI can be integrated in all those classes. That's what we're after, because it's really important. Right now, I'm seeing the trend. Some people who wanted to use Notion, Go High Level. Those are the apps that are being used for marketing, and it's being in demand. And if you being a Notion user or a DSL user, an expert, can really help you land jobs. So that's what we wanted to do as well, by offering our clients that, hey, if you're looking for experts in these fields, we have people who can work for you, and you can work for teams.
Okay, excellent. How about opportunities that you're seeing that you want to take advantage of?
Well, right now, right now with our new clients, um, since their market is also new, the business model that they have is new, and the technology with robotics is also growing, and they still need human intervention. Again, that's where our human touch is still needed, and that's what the opportunity that we're seeing, that we'd be able to offer those kinds of you know services, that while AI is there, while these new technologies are coming in, we can still add the human touch and be able to help them grow with that. At the same time, we're also looking at you know um, qualifying how the work is being done. While there are some apps that are, that can help you ease up the way you do your business, like for example, in data entry, data quality, but the matching, that's where you need more than just a tool to help you figure things out. So that's where our human intervention is can come in, and that's where we're looking at as part of growth opportunity.
Wow, that's very actually it's nice to hear. Okay,
Mhm.
because when you look at AI, they're the I call them doomsayers on both sides. Doomsayers that AI will take away all your jobs, AI, and then the other doomsayer is, we'll wind up with Skynet. You know what I mean? So,
But
so
it's possible. I mean, if people can end up like being so reliant, but not really doing something for themselves, not learning how it's being done. I guess that's what AI can do. They can definitely eliminate or take away our jobs. It's really more of like how we're going to use that to our advantage now that we have AI. And like for example in customer service, like you don't have to like type away all of the answers, like having to explain. You can use AI to generate something for you and just like make it faster. Before, customer service would mean a one-on-one interaction. Now in chat support, they can actually do 5 or 10 for that matter, simply because you can just use different windows and then throw in different questions. And that's exactly what we're doing with remote operations. Like they can actually see 5 rovers walking at the same time because, multiple screens and stuff like that, and being able to get use those tools to like help them identify if there's something that needs to be fixed along the way. So it's really amazing.
I
Technology is
remember
growing
I
exponentially.
remember when I started working in 2001, and it was an outsourced gig. The chat support guys,
Mhm.
they were like this, literally typing on two keyboards. Okay.
Well, yeah,
Wow, these
you
guys are
have
these
to
guys are
switch from one screen. Yeah, you have to switch from one screen to another and doing that.
right,
But
right,
now,
right.
but now
Yeah,
it's like 5 screens. Yeah.
incredible. Well, that's well, as I said, it's very difficult to predict the future. So maybe much of it relies on our ability to just maybe the overused word I think is resilient. Okay.
You would
Uh,
Yeah, I would say that too. It's kind of like overused. I don't know the exact term for that. I mean, like
but,
right now, I mean, just to give you, just to give you an anecdote, Paul. I mean, I'm actually a lover of science fiction. And you know what's happening right now? That you can actually have AI create a storyboard, like for short reels, stuff like that.
yep.
There's a there's a mini story, like a series of short story books by Isaac Asimov. I can't remember the title for that one, but it's a series of short stories. And one of the short stories tells about actors who complain because the technology, they didn't use AI as a term there, but their likeness are the ones being projected on the screen. And I read that I was still a teenager, and now I'm seeing how AI is being, how it's able to generate pictures and images and of actors, like real actors. Like that's how the deep fake thing. And I realized, oh my God, Isaac Asimov's short story just came through with this one. And you'll never know. You'll never know when technology would, uh, surface like that.
I enjoy Isaac Asimov as well. Actually,
Oh,
I think he's from the 70s, if I'm not
yeah.
mistaken. Yeah, yeah. And, one of the predictions he made was that the new evolved species will be
Mhm.
part human, part robot. It'll be like I think it's technically called the cyborg. Okay, and it'll be a superior species. That's what he predicted. Okay, maybe it'll happen.
Well,
We don't know.
we do know about the iRobot series with Isaac Asimov. We all know that, but
Right.
then I
Right.
mean it go beyond that.
Oh, yes, it does. But for me, he's one of the better reads about the future. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Definitely. Definitely. And the whole raft of ethical questions involved there, so I really don't know. But in the end, and this again was a question posed by Ida Tiongshon. She goes, if I were to ask you, how would you imagine your ideal life? And I'll ask you, how would you imagine your ideal life?
Me, my
Yeah.
ideal life. I mean, as a person or as a professional.
As a person, I mean, what would you like to, how would you like to live? You know what I mean? For the rest of your life, if you want to say.
Oh, okay. That's a pretty interesting question, but I would say that right now, how my life is evolving at the moment is something that I never thought it would
Yeah.
happen. Because, growing up in a generation that confirms you to stereotypes, I'm probably one of those, divergent. Because, I would say it that way because, during my generation and being asked like, oh, okay, that time you either take in nursing, being a doctor, being in the medical field, or teaching isn't even part of the equation anymore. Business is something like more on the traditional side of business. But I guess it's because my love for the technology got me into this um, arena where the BPO industry, while it's still a business, but it involves technology that transcends through time. So, the way that we do BPOs before, like the call center industry, when I started way back in 2003, we were like just using the phone and whatever materials that you can print out, for a telecom company answering customer complaints, all you need, I mean, if the system is down in front of you, you don't have internet and you only have the hard lines, all you need to do is just have receive those calls on the hard lines and then just print whatever is in front of you and just use a spiel. But now it has evolved from there to having soft phones. We got rid of the hard phones and just use cloud-based software. The evolution is very fast. And I would see myself still being involved with that, but probably taking a step back by being able to still enjoy what really matters to us, like being able to do the things that I want to do, but with the little technology that goes along with it. I would probably see myself as someone who would still be enjoying technology, but taking a step back to the rush and the rush of things. Um, Still utilize what technology or what the future has to offer for me. I'd still probably learn because I never really stopped learning. And me now, my direction is that I'm more of like trying to help out the rest of our countrymen through service. I'm involved right now as part of the Department of Information Communications Technology as one of the resource person. We're actually doing what we call a send program, wherein we're encouraging freelancers to become homegrown BPO owners as well, because you know it generates jobs. Once you start receiving these kinds of work and it's online, it's something that it helps you augment your income, grow your future, being able to pay it forward through, generating jobs. I think that's a wonderful thing to continue.
That's absolutely, it's awesome that you're saying all of these things. Especially when you described how even a person like me, I am a boomer, okay, and that
The
it's
select
so
one.
fine.
The
Like,
sound like one.
oh, that's different. Okay, uh, but thank you. it's very heartwarming.
Yeah.
Like I could still figure things out. Uh, because right now I most of my friends are in my age bracket. Okay, of course. And they're wondering what will I do with retirement. Some of them kulang pa the retirement's not enough. So I said, well,
Mhm.
you could try things like this. No, I said right now
Yeah.
I am doing one. I am doing one. It's a very simple task, and I get paid pretty well. And because I speak English like this, it's great. Okay.
Yes, exactly. I mean, from how I look at you, you're still someone who could, the old adage of, you can still teach an old dog new tricks, and I think that goes well for both of us. The challenge that I have right now, to tell you frankly, is how to keep up with the millennials and the Gen Zs, how they think. They're more attuned to their emotions. And you, as a person, me as a person who is more logical, I mean, over the years, we've developed from being emotional to being more logical. And it's really a challenge to the millennials and the Gen Zs, Gen Alpha to be exact, like how they like how to address them. And it's like, I don't want to be confirmed with that. It's a good thing though with the Filipino environment. How would they say the Filipino culture? We're still more attuned to the how to bridge the generation gap together. But then it's still a challenge. Like if they don't feel like doing like the usual thing that they try to raise is like my emotional or mental state is in danger. It's like, oh my God, here we go again. How am I going to deal with that? But I have to we have to adapt. And we also, as a company, diversity is also something that is important. And I think it helps that everyone is inclined with that, how diversity works in the workplace. Because, you're dealing with, very young people, like some some are really like they're like my children
Yeah.
already. Like I'm in my 50s. I'm dealing with early 20-year olds who's like their only focus is how to spend their next vacation. Like really, those are the challenges. But it's really more of like again, that's where continuous improvement comes in. If
Mm.
you continue to learn, you continue to identify what works, what doesn't work, and how you're going to do about it. That really helps me. If you could put it being resilient to this generation, then I would say it is.
Actually, one of the key things that I learned as a parent is when you talk to your child, don't talk to them as children.
Yeah,
Yes, you'll adjust your language. You will. But don't talk to them as children. Talk to them as a normal person. Okay.
that's
So
right.
maybe that's one big step that, older guys can take when they look at a younger generation. They always, you know, hey son, what hey son? Okay.
Yeah, and they have to. Our generation should be able to understand. It's like, and I'm trying to teach this to my kids. My kids are all adults now. I try to also let them understand, like especially for their grandparent, their grandmom, that they're also just learning how this
Yeah,
technology works. So you have to be patient with them because the way that you understand technology is way faster because you grew up with it. I mean,
right.
we're the generation that started the internet and started with the rest of the technology. But for those who are in the silent generation or those the boomer generation are like they're also just learning about it. So you have to be more patient with them. So it's really a matter of balance, I guess. That makes a lot of difference.
Absolutely. And then when you said it, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. What I know is as long as the old dog is willing to learn, he'll learn the trick.
Definitely.
It doesn't matter what his age is, okay? Well, of course,
Yeah.
you're not gonna ask me to do a couple somersaults. I might injure myself, but but the thinking is there, okay? And and the one thing that I have learned maybe over life is that, while planning is good, you want to
Mhm.
make a plan. At the end of the day, how many times you've made a plan and on day one it goes out the window?
That's true. That's
So
true.
So maybe it's a matter of just learning how to bounce around and then, okay, let's go here, let's go there, let's go here, let's go there. And at the end, you're fine. For me, that's pretty much is what's happening today. But
Mhm.
Pam, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And before we kind of wind this down, is there anything you'd like to invite our viewers to maybe visit your page? Do they have some kind of maybe job expo or something going on?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, as a person, I'm also like doing this. A lot of people have been asking me, why not me opening up some sort of like, you know, uh, sort of like a learning hub for those who wanted to become a VA because I'm pretty much active in the freelancing industry. I've been mentoring some people, but I've been doing it at a very small scale. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to get involved too much because I still have skill experts with me. But I do plan to launch some sort of like a learning session and a community for those who wanted to scale their businesses and they also if they wanted to become freelancers or virtual assistants, I can help them grow with that as well. So probably just stay tuned in my personal LinkedIn profile. I mean, in LinkedIn, they can follow me, my Pam Baluyo, and they can also follow me on Facebook. We're in probably before the third quarter, I'll be starting that. Or it's actually in the works.
Oh, that's fabulous and excellent to hear. I'm sure Dino and I are very excited to hear about this. Okay, and maybe we could talk more about it afterwards. But for our viewers, looking forward to our next session, which will be episode 3, still season 20. We'll be talking to Gilbert Trinchera and we'll be talking about transformation fueled by light. And if you enjoyed this session, please don't forget to smash those buttons like, join, forward, all of these, follow. And as always, learning is a never ending journey with limitless vistas.